Wow, I love our video guy. Use the Chop Shop team if you want anything like that. Just a shout out to them. They've been helping us forever. My name is Matt. Welcome back. I think we have the most people live waiting to get in we've ever had. We had over 600 RSVPs, but I think almost 500 people are here today. I'm really excited for this one. We've got 4 great startups, 4 great VCs, an amazing host. If it is your first time here, we are the best platform for founders to pitch their startups, connect with investors, and rapidly close their round. We run these every month around a specific vertical, and obviously you all know today is gaming. If you want to get involved in the next one, check out the link below. We're always happy to bring in new friends to these. We generally like to find something new every month. If you want to get closer to the kernel events, we are looking at expanding our product offering and figuring out what our business looks like. So if you have any feedback for us, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. It's just Matt at Kernel. Let's hop into the main event. We also have one other massive sponsor I'd like to shout out before we do that. It's Bubble. We have BubbleCon coming up. Blake's going to throw a link up there. But I'd love to bring on Rochelle as our host today. Haley from the House Fund is taking a break and introduced us, and I'm really, really excited to welcome someone new. What's going on?
Awesome. Thanks a ton, Matt. Hello, all. Super excited to be your host for today. As Matt mentioned, my name is Rachel. I'm a venture fellow at Hustle Fund and also currently serve as director of Launch Blue Ventures at the University of Kentucky. Go Cats. So was graciously tagged in by your regular host, Haley Bryant from Hustle Fund, but delighted nonetheless to represent the Hustle Familia today. And even more pumped to welcome the massive contingent of founders, funders, and friends from the gaming space on today's show. So thanks again, Matt, for the intro. We'll let you get back behind the scenes as viewers roll in. We'll do some quick intros of the panelists and kind of get things kicked off. So first up, we have Dan Bunting from 1AM Gaming and a former Call of Duty game director. Dan, welcome. Please introduce yourself if you can.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Dan Bunting. I've been working in the venture space for about the past year and a half, 2 years. I was an operator before that, working on the Call of Duty franchise from 2004 to 2021. I've been a producer, game director, studio head, also very involved in go-to-market strategy and planning, working with our marketing partners and publicity PR firms, also very active in the esports world. So quite a lot of experience on the game making side.
Awesome. Well, welcome, Dan. We're glad, so glad to have
you for having me.
You with us. I saw where you and your team will be on the ground for LA Tech Week, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, we'll get a little plug in. Yeah, we are doing an event on October 16th for founders and future founders. I think we're trying to, for me coming from the inside of a large development studio, the whole idea of leaving and starting a startup is kind of scary and it's very opaque. You have no idea how the whole system works.
Yeah.
So, with that event, we're going to try to just kind of pull the covers back and give everybody a very, open kind of kimono view of what is the, game industry startup ecosystem look like. Yeah. So it's going to be fun. We've already got 150 people who've RSVP'd. We're going to probably take up to 300 RSVPs and cut it from that. But it's going to be a great event. Lots of really big industry luminaries there.
Love it. Well, for those that'll be boots on the ground for LA Tech Week, go check those guys out.
Please do.
Next up, we have Stephen O'Brien. He's an investor and head of platform at Mantis VC. Welcome, Steve. We'd love an intro.
Hey guys. I was the first employee of Mantis VC when the Chainsmokers started the fund about 5 years ago. Kind of took on a lot of responsibilities in how we build our brand, how we're using different infrastructure systems on the back end for operations, as well as investing across a multitude of different industries. I happen to be most passionate about gaming and interactive media as a young PC gamer growing up on the East Coast. And especially with sort of the value we add with the intersection of music and gaming, was a natural fit for our funds. And so we started investing into the gaming space around 4 years ago into a mixture of content studios as well as infra. And now with sort of the convergence of vertical AI, it's something I've focused pretty heavily on. Very, very interested in IP, very interested in scalable technologies. And so it's been a really fun experience connecting with some of my favorite game makers and becoming friends with a multitude of like really awesome people across the globe. So it's been great.
That's awesome. Well, thanks a ton, Steve. Also heard from a little birdie. You're a musician and avid gamer yourself, correct?
Yes.
Awesome, man. Well, definitely excited to have you with us today, and thanks a ton for joining. Next up, real quickly, we'll move right along to our next panelist, which is Jason Bailey, CEO of Eastside Games Group. Jason, we'd love an intro.
Hey guys, I'm Jason Bailey. I'm founder, CEO of Eastside Games. We're a game developer and publisher here in Canada. We build games for lots of big IPs like The Office with NBC, RuPaul's Drag Race, as well as smaller ones like the Trailer Park Boys. If you're Canadian and don't love the Trailer Park Boys, there's something wrong with you. Cheech and Chong. Lots of small titles like this. We have, about 12, 15 games live in the mobile stores right now. My history is I, pioneered the free-to-play back in the 2000s and built a platform that allowed Facebook games to be successful, and then ultimately, moved into mobile and helped make free-to-play the dominant platform that it is. So, I'm proud of that, but I'm also hated for that. So, there's good and bad, but we're a huge fan of mobile games. We're a publisher of a lot of games. We work with developers all over the world, as well as, invest and support that startup ecosystem.
Love it. Love it. Well, gaming royalty is in the building. We appreciate you, Jason. Real quickly, just really fun question. What was your first game you ever remember playing?
Pong on a TV where, with like the little black and white paddles going back and forth. And my buddy Neil had one and I was pretty blown away with it. But my big claim to fame is in 1983, wow. I was the ColecoVision champion of British Columbia.
Wow. I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Thanks so much, Jason. And so our fourth and final panelist that we'll bring up as well is Danny Tran from Convoy. Welcome, Danny. Feel free to give an intro really quickly if you can.
Yeah, for sure. I'm Danny. I'm a lifelong gamer, and I started my career as a management consultant before I went on to the corporate strategy and M&A team at Activision Blizzard. But now I'm living the dream as an investor at Convoy, and Convoy investing in the startups, building the tech and front platforms of the gaming industry.
Love it. Love it. Well, this is fantastic. Again, such a stacked group here with our panel. Before we kind of get dived in quickly, Danny, I've read somewhere where you grew up on MMOs and may have some nostalgic to that, but what do you look for with the founders that you back today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. I think the first one is just a passion for gaming. I think that's everyone that's building in the gaming industry needs to have that, and the excitement to really further the industry as a whole. I think second, I think that's necessary to be in tune with the needs of gamers, just someone that has actually felt those pain points and is actually building something to solve those problems. And I think the last one is just like the grind, the drive. I think MMORPGs are really those the types of games and the types of platforms where you're literally putting in hundreds, if not thousands of hours in order to, achieve your goals. And I think like that is something that is mirrored on the startup side.
Love it. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, awesome. Such a esteemed panel we're excited for today. I know we are all excited to hear today's pitches as well, which is why we're all here, and the feedback that'll come from this wonderful panel. But we need to cover some ground rules before we get kicked off. So before the first startup comes up, I wanted to share how the next hour will actually flow. We're going to have 4 different startups, each give their own 4-minute pitch. During that pitch, we encourage you to click the like, connect, and invest buttons that will appear at the bottom of your screen to get in touch with each of these amazing founders who are all trying to raise money for their startups. You can click into the pitch details to see their pitch deck, metrics, and more information. And after the founders finish the pitch, I'll bring up all of our 4 all-star panelists back up to share their live feedback in real time and get a few questions, just like Shark Tank. So to recap really quickly, if a founder's pitch catches your eye, please tap the buttons below to get connected and express your interest so you can meet them afterwards. Now, enough about me, enough about the panel. I think it's time we get on with our first founder. So just a quick disclaimer as well, before we do get started as well, you got to be accredited if you want to mingle with our founders. We're here to facilitate intros and not transactions. So invest wisely. And remember, no pearls of wisdom offered here. Don't count it as financial advice. Now that that's out the way, let's get to the pitches. So first up, really, really excited to welcome Caroline, founder of Overplay, to the stage.
Guys, if it works like insane, right?
You know me, I like to geek out with the good stuff. Overplay's the good stuff, so check it out.
Hi, everyone. I'm Caroline. I'm from Overplay. I love that little intro because, of course, yes, earlier this year we were on Shark Tank and Mark Cuban did invest in us. So he saw something special in us. But even before he saw something special in us, we saw something special in us. And that's why I'm here chatting with you guys today, because I really want to show you all something really cool that we're doing that no one else is doing. We have a fully patented platform that lets anyone turn any video into a game in minutes with no code. And so we're truly democratizing gaming with Overplay, and I'm really excited to show it to you today. We launched our beta a couple months ago over the summer, and yeah, I'm not going to use a deck because I just love speaking extemporaneously about Overplay and also showing the product. But yeah, just let me show it to you right here. So I kind of like to describe Overplay a little bit like TikTok for gaming. It's anyone can now take their videos, upload it into Overplay, and make it into a game. And the kind of games that these are rhythm-based games. So the goal of the games is to match the action you see on the screen. And it's with swiping, tapping, driving, jumping. Eventually it'll be shake. It'll include voice. Any kind of input that the device can take. And let me see whether I can play a game for you. The sound might not be picked up on by my computer, but I'm going to try to play it for you backwards here. This is just a game that was made by a creator. Clearly, Halloween is on the way. So this is going to be a swiping game. I've only played it once before. So with this one, yeah, I'm trying to match the swipes. I'm getting points based on how accurately I'm swiping. A little bit hard for me to play backwards, but basically there's interactive feedback. There's points that I'm getting at the top based on how accurately I'm playing along. And you can download it for yourself on Overplayed Games. We have it on iOS and Android right now. But basically, we're basically taking the most expensive stuff out of making a game. So now anyone can take their video, turn it into a game. The way that you do that is just you upload your video into Overplay, and you're literally dragging and dropping taps and swipes. And as the video is playing, you're slowing the video down. And by the time you kind of put in your inputs, a game is made, and then you're adding in sound effects, music, interactive animations. That's all served up via AI as a creative assistant to you, and then you could publish it out into the world. And yeah, so Overplay right now, we have about 250,000 downloads, about 1.5 million gameplays. I have an exciting announcement to make. We're doing a pilot with ESPN and Disney right now. So as you can imagine, it would be really cool to make interactive highlights reels rather than just watching a highlights reel on ESPN.com. Now you can actually play it. And so we're doing pilots with ESPN, Disney, WWE. And so it's really kind of cool now that you can basically take almost anything in your life experience or any media company, anyone creating content can now make an interactive experience. And you can challenge friends to play. You can also get points. You can also reward your fans for playing or sharing. And also, so the way that Overplay all came about is I come from Sesame Street. I ran digital media business development for Sesame. My co-founder, Dan, ran interactive production. We were always trying to think of how to take our video further. So it was very expensive to film Muppets. And so we were always trying to create a long tail for that content, how to incorporate it into apps, how to incorporate it into ebooks, whatever it is that we were trying to do. And so basically we created the product that we would have wanted at Sesame to make content go further. But we really do believe that this is what's next for social media. Now, any creator can be a game creator. And yeah, what we're doing right now is we're raising our seed round. We're raising a $5 million seed round. The money is going towards bringing on key hires as well as building our API. So right now, Overplay does exist as its own app, but we really do feel that the future of Overplay is going to be where Overplay can be incorporated into any app or website wherever they want to make interactive content. So imagine Formula One now being able to make playable games for Formula1.com. So let's see. I'm not sure how much time I have left, but and Blake, I'm sure you'll stop me. Yeah, so we're raising our seed round. We have some really great investors already, including the Adobe Fund for Design, Singularity, Plus8, Gangels, Village Global. Yeah, we're hoping that you join us for the journey. We're raising an institutional round, and we're also raising a retail round on WeFunder at the same time. So yeah, that's Overplay.
Awesome. Well, thanks a ton. Great job, Caroline. We'll bring up our panelists now so that we can get their real-time feedback. And just a quick reminder for everyone who is listening, use the buttons below to click and connect with Caroline to learn more. So we'll get right into it and kick it off with Dan.
Oh, thank you. I'm curious what you said you've been out in beta for 2 months. Mm-hmm. What kind of metrics are you seeing in terms of engagement, time, and retention? And are you tracking kind of demographics of like who is using it the most?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in terms of retention time, so we're finding 23 times more engagement with overplays than regular video. And so that's pretty amazing. And there was no incentive to play, by the way. It's not like, oh, you'll get a coupon or a discount or whatever for playing. But we're also seeing that people are playing around 3 games in one sitting, and they'll oftentimes play the same game over and over again because they're trying to get the high score. So there is a leaderboard and things like that. Let's see. In terms of demographics, it is TikTok folks, right? TikTok generation who's attracted to Overplay, right? So we have had a number of creators who, like an example of this, creators on YouTube or for TikTok who are gravitating towards Overplay. They've never made a game before, but they're taking some of their most successful videos and they're turning it into games. So, for instance, we have some really cool POV games made by Ampesound. Ampesound is one of the top parkour YouTube channels, and so they're taking some of their top POV parkour game videos and turning them into games, and those are like really getting a lot of traction on Overplay. But then we also have, it's really interesting. We also had a school. We actually had Iona University actually just incorporated Overplay into their curriculum last week. And so Esports 101 class at Iona University, part of their final exam is to create 4 Overplay games. And a lot of these kids have never, like, they're gamers, but they've never actually made a game before, maybe outside of Roblox, you know? So a lot of them are not computer science students or anything like that. It's really kind of cool that, you know, Overplay is opening up to the whole universe in that way. I hope that answers your question, Dan. I can answer.
Yeah,
thank you. Forever. Yeah.
I don't want to take up any more time. Everyone else does.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks a ton, guys. We'll move next to Steven. Steven, you have any questions?
Cool. I'll ask the obvious question here, but like when you think about monetization, like is it more of like a brand partnership model, or are you planning on sort of having creators drive adoption through multiple tool sets? What are you seeing like early on in that model?
Yeah, so we are pre-monetization. We're going to start monetizing in 2025. And on our own app, we're going to be doing it through interactive ads and also in-app purchases. But the interactive ads, the way it'll work is that all of the ads will also be games, right? So you'll be scrolling through and you'll land on an ad. You might not even realize it's an ad because it's such a fun game. So interactive ads in-app purchases. But I personally do feel that the bread and butter for Overplay will be a B2B SaaS licensing model, which will be through the API. And so the API, we're thinking that in a way, in the same way, like Google Maps can kind of be adopted by anyone who wants Google Maps, whether you're Expedia or whether you're a mom and pop pizza shop. Overplay, we kind of do intend to be ubiquitous. But of course, being adopted, it's great to be doing these POCs with Disney and ESPN already to kind of show off our stuff. So yeah, but I think that that's the bread and butter for Overplay. Although, there's been little innovation in ad tech over the last 10 years. And so maybe this is for that too. So yeah.
Cool. Helpful. Thanks.
Love it. Love it. Next up, Jason.
Sure. I mean, my kind of following on with Steve's thoughts around monetization, because nothing's a business if it doesn't make money. I think there's building a game and qualifying a game. So there's kind of two parts of my question. One is what is that process of actually getting that game out into the world? Is it publishing it as a interactive TikTok video? Are you publishing it directly to the Android and iOS stores? And then, talking about ad tech innovation, I think an opportunity for you here really is in playable ads and helping people make playable ads, because as a company that has a ton of playable ads, and that's kind of the bread and butter of marketing a game. And honestly, building games is not actually that hard. People will tell you otherwise. It is not trivial by any means, but the most difficult part of the game industry is marketing it and getting it in front of people. So you have an interesting opportunity here with creators, but I think you have a directly to businesses, helping them create playable ads is something that we pay a lot of money for.
Yeah. So Overplay, the way that you publish to Overplay right now is you publish right to our app. So you upload your video into our Overplay game maker. You basically put on the layer of gaming on top of your video, and then you publish it onto the Overplay app. So right now, and you also, by the way, you get a deep link to that game that you can then publish the deep link to that game onto your Instagram or onto TikTok, but you can't actually play it on TikTok yet or on Instagram. Maybe in the future. But right now you can only play Overplays on Overplay. But if you were to send that deep link or share it with your fans and say, hey, you really love this video, now you could play it as a game. So if your fans click on that link, they'll be directed to download Overplay, which is a really quick download, and then they'll be able to play it on Overplay. The eventual goal with the API is that, like I mentioned, Overplay will be everywhere. And so, so the heavy lifting around the kind of marketing of the game would be, in a way, the creator could share it with their fans that they're already making content with or for, and say, hey, now play it as a game. And so far that's been working for us. Another thing too is that I absolutely agree with you. Approaching brands, some brands have approached us. I mentioned WWE. They're looking to get new talent out there, and so we're going to be making really cool stuff with them. And so they found us. But I think that advertisers, ad networks, if ad networks could include Overplay in their list of options for brands to now be able to create advertisements. I think that that's a huge win for brands and for ad networks and for us. So, yeah.
A lot of those ad networks actually create those ads for us. We, because they want to run our ads, and that's how they make their money. So going to those ad networks and offering that tool set for them to make them for their partners. So the brands themselves don't have to do it. They do it for the brands.
That's right. Yeah. By the way, I don't think that Overplay is going to create our own ad network. It's about working with others. Yeah. We're going to go a different route than Snap, I think. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. Don't follow Snap.
No.
But, I mean, AppLovin runs the world of mobile game advertising right now.
Yep.
Awesome. Sorry to interject there. Great questions. We'll round this round with Danny. If we can keep these last two super brief, so we'll go on to the next. But Danny, you got any questions for Caroline?
Yeah, well, one last quick one. So TikTok has smaller mini games in the form of filters, and with this, those creators are able to meet players where they are already. And so I understand the value proposition for creators because it's around lowering the barrier to creation. What is the key value proposition of having a native app to play these games for players?
Well, we kind of see it as Overplay ourselves. We created the app just to show that it can be done. I mean, we needed to prove that it can be done, and this is what we got our patents around and everything too. We need to show that people like playing these kinds of games. So these are games on top of video. They're different than what TikTok has actually made. So it's a very different interaction. But also too, creators can now make their own stuff. And it takes a lot less time. The TikTok games are still complicated to make. And so this is a whole different way. So in a way, we're our best first customer with our own app. We needed to figure out the good, bad, and ugly. We have our researcher helping us out, and we're kind of doing constant updates, getting rid of the bad and the ugly. At the end of the day, though, the real, like I was mentioning earlier, the real key here is wrapping our tech into an API that can be integrated onto other apps and platforms. And so when I'm talking about other apps and platforms, I'm not necessarily talking about TikTok or Instagram. I'm talking about the Sesame Streets, the Formula Ones of the world, the WWEs of the world, the ABC Sportses of the world. These are folks that want to own their audience. When you publish on TikTok or when you publish on Instagram, you're not owning your audience. But like, how can now content creators own their audience and really monetize the content that they're creating? And so we think that there's a lot of value around that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a ton, everyone, for the feedback here. Caroline, thanks again for today and for getting through it. We'll move right along to our next startup that we have on deck, which next up we have John Yuki, who is a personality psychology expert and developed what may be the world's only scientifically accurate self-assessment personality test. John, take it away and let us know what you're uniquely building at GameTree.
All right, thanks, Rochelle. And nice to meet you guys. Thanks for your time and attention. I'm John UK, one of the founders at GameTree, Find Your Tribe. Essentially, what we've built is the deepest people matching app in the gaming industry, probably the world. It looks at your personality psychology, your personal values, your play style and types of fun that you like for hundreds of thousands of games across all major platforms, including board games. So we not only find you someone to play with, but probably your next best friend as well, who will play a lot of games in common with you. We believe that this makes gaming more fun and meaningful, but also it's solving a lot of loneliness and toxicity, which have been increasing in the world, but especially increasing in gaming. Much of this was because of instant queue matching, where you just click a button, you're with random people, instead of coordinating with friends and joining community servers like you used to back in the old days. So essentially people match, they play together, and they stay in touch. So that's kind of the loop. The part we've really nailed is the matching part. Average person finds 5 connections, and then we're next going to be adding more social network features and gameplay coordination features in a way that's easier and better than Discord. So the next step is helping people not only meet, that's not what they really want. It's what people really want is to have fun, build relationships, experience good emotions with people. And as of now, we're the only company in the entire industry that's focused on deeply understanding and curating gamer relationships. So we're kind of at a quadrant where we're with social network side and also gaming focused. The market's pretty big, about $18.5 billion at its current size. We have over 1 million signups now. We're growing pretty quickly. We have some big partnerships. We just closed $500,000 in funding last week and a $250,000 grant from Futureverse, who wants to buy services from GameTree and be a strategic partner. We have LOIs for a lot of data. The world's biggest gaming news network, Enthusiast Gaming, reached out to acquire GameTree, saying they think we have the most data out of any company in the gaming industry on our users, because people fill in all these personality tests and stuff. We have the whole social graph. They sync networks. They can rate and review games. We know all their friends. There's also a lot of community evangelism. We have dozens and dozens of volunteer moderators. The community's translated the app into 10 languages without us asking. We've experienced about 434% growth in the last 6 months. The last few months, we're not doing any paid promotion. We don't have any marketing team. very much organic driven. And this is expected to actually massively scale into the future, because we'll be adding a lot more viral mechanics where it makes sense for people to share it. For example, community recommendations. Community leaders can point to their communities and find people that are similar, but need to invite people to get the DNA of who those people are like. Game sessions, you invite random people or friends to play together. Similarly to Discord, you can overlay games, but you get experience points. You can earn like future NFT rewards and stuff. We get a lot of positive feedback. We're helping people really deeply alongside our health. I think our relationships are the most important thing in the world. And so we're really, a lot of people have gotten married because of us. I'm sure a ton of suicides have been prevented. Just helping people genuinely connect, where gaming can be a very isolating, lonely, even waste of time experience. We're making it more fun and meaningful by bringing back the social element. A lot of people have tried to build this sort of central like Facebook for Gamers social network, and everybody's failed. We believe that this wasn't our original intention, but just there's a lot of factors that position Gametree well. One is just peak toxicity and loneliness, and we have a unique stance on it where we don't think people are really getting toxic more. It's just that people have different values, they miscommunicate. If you're competitive, don't play with casual people. If you like cussing, don't play with people who are really against cussing. If you're like homophobic, don't play with gay people. In the past, people would screen a bit better, and the better way to fight toxicity is not banning and muting everybody, but just filtering the right kinds of people who play together, like happens in real life. So we're basically the only people that get this. Also, starting as a gamer matching app, the average person finds 5 friends. We raised from the dating app mafia, like the CEO of Match Group, the CMO who blew up Tinder, the data scientist of OkCupid. So people already have the hardest cold start problem of a social network solved. With all the data we have, we can do curated not only friends, but user-generated content, friends, news, events, games, recommendations, and curated advertising. And also the other players can't do it themselves because they have conflicts of interest, like Unity and Unreal can't cooperate, Sony, Microsoft, etc. Discord said they're only ever going to be just a chat app. We talked to multiple of the board of directors, their head of M&A, their founder all said the same thing, which is not the same thing as a social network where you're in the middle and it builds itself around you. So we're growing as gamer matching, continue as a social network, and do some Web3 stuff. Not super dependent on that, but we found ways to enable it, and that industry is very hungry for services Gametree can provide, and then market leadership and monetization. On the Web3 front, there's 3 big value propositions, not just for Web3, but everybody in general. Converting Web2 into Web3 users, being able to identify those guys, building communities around games and tokens, chains, products, and also really, really deep gamer data, having a universal login system. We have plans for a token in the future, again, not vital to the business model, but something, for example, if you want to coordinate gameplay through Gametree, you're a little bit incentivized to do something that you already want to do, but now you have like a socially acceptable excuse where it's like, we get tokens for playing together, and eventually getting it to a point where you just click a button and automatically puts you in touch with your friends, people you're predicted to like, or people you've played with who you've liked before. We have a lot of viral growth hacks in line. Business model, traditional social is a lot of just highly targeted promotion, building out our own advertising network, freemium memberships and digital goods, and also the B2B services referenced earlier. So I'm John UK, background in personality psychology a lot. Main co-founder is Dana Sidorenko, who's the CEO. She's a badass. She has another company that's doing about 50 million a year, as a war veteran. Andrew Skripnik also runs one of the top 10 language learning apps and is our CTO. We have pretty relevant investors, as you can see here. We are raising right now. We just closed about 750,000 last week, and we're looking to raise 3 million, which gives us a couple years of runway without needing any monetization, even though we will be monetizing. And again, expecting very hyper growth going into the future. Thank you guys for your time and attention, and happy to answer any questions.
John, thanks a ton. Let's bring up our panelists. And for all our viewers, just remember, if any of these pitches today catch your eye, hit the buttons below to get connected and express your interest. We'll switch it up a bit. And this time, guys, let's see if we can keep our questions and responses to 1 minute if we can. All right. So let's kick it off with Steven.
Cool. Super awesome. Discord kind of operates as a silo in a lot of ways. And I think it's awesome what you're doing around this data-specific studies, but how do you own the sort of relationship as it spins out of and benefit from as it spins out from Gametree and maybe migrates back to Discord? Additionally, are there plans, to work alongside Discord, as it's a very difficult industry to compete with?
It's like one of the hardest business models you can do, and Discord's the gorilla. So one aspect is Discord's kind of like Facebook Messenger, and we're more like Facebook itself. Discord, you go from room to room, people get buried, the profiles are really horrible. You can't tell somebody's age, their time zone, that your game's in common. It's not really that optimized for that. They don't have tools for coordinating gameplay. One of the other things is just social network features. For example, stories exists in like everything, YouTube, Snap, like Instagram, Facebook, like everything, but there's nowhere you can go where you can just upload something about gaming and tag a game and like share it with your friends or with a community. Like that just doesn't exist anywhere, and it's kind of frustrating. So things like that, giving tools to people to be able to stay in touch with friends better. Whereas in Discord, people get buried really fast. You can forget who they are. There's no bumps or any like reminders of who they are. So Game Tree is more oriented around helping people meet, stay in touch out of game, and also coordinate gameplay together. And then also we'll have a Discord bot as well. So if you want to install it in a server, it'll automatically track the people there. You can get insights on the kinds of people and all this data. It'll also recommend it to similar people, depending on if you want that to join those communities. You could type in somebody's like GT and then get their user, like a link to their GameTree profile, which is much deeper and better. You can also like get a push for all the game sessions that are being scheduled, so that you can see a feed of those, and then you just click it and you're instantly in a call, kind of like Google Meet. You don't have to download any software or sign up. You can if you want, and you get more credit, and they'll save information and give you insights on that. But it's just basically filling in a lot of gaps where Discord's missing those things and not planning to build them.
Nice,
Very
nice. Awesome. Jason, up next.
I love this. This is a huge problem that needs to be solved. Toxicity in games drives me crazy. I got to turn the sound off. It makes you not want to play games. So this would be helpful in that. But I'm curious, where does it live? Like, what's the process of filling out that personality profile? Is it a website? Is it an app? Is it a Discord bot? How does one get into it?
Yeah, quickly touching on the first part. For myself, it was more about loneliness, especially young men are the loneliest demographic. For Dana, being a woman and a war veteran, like the last thing you want is what happens. That process itself, it's a pretty short sign up, and then we have optional personality tests, a personality psychology test, a personal values test, a gamer DNA test that measures the kinds of fun you like. For example, don't mix like a power gamer with a role player. So those are optional tests, but they're all incentivized and people learn about themselves. We have a guide on like, when you read somebody's profile, you can actually read about what's this person like in games. How do you become friends with somebody like this? Why do you want to be friends with them? Or if you're this kind of person, advice for getting along with people who are psychologically different from yourself. It's an iOS, Android, and a web app, and also now a desktop app. It's 80-90% uses on mobile, but we're shifting that more towards web now. We have the ability to overlay games and stuff as well. So it's essentially right now mostly like an elaborate Tinder for gamer friends with much deeper matching. But now we're putting in more tools for helping people develop the relationships that they introduce on GameTree, because the other places aren't really that sufficient for that, for like getting to know people, reminding who they are, coordinating gameplay and such.
I'd use Bumble as a great example of that, and the friend making systems within Bumble.
Yeah, and it's sad that that's like the main thing, because like my psychology is very oriented towards curation, and just it's very frustrating how bad of a job everybody's doing with that, and how much deeper you could curate people.
Yeah. But the most important thing that I'm looking for in a friend when I'm playing games is they got to be good. So there needs to be some sort of like
skill level. Yeah,
you might believe and not have all the same values as me, but you better be good.
I'm similar, but what we actually found is that the bigger part of the bell curve is actually just people that are like, hey, I don't care what I play, I just want to play with good people. If you look at Minecraft, Roblox, like a lot of these most popular games now are ones that everybody can play. But I myself, like personally, am like, I want somebody in the same skill bracket as well as the other stuff.
Awesome. I'm gonna cut you off here just so we can rapid fire these last two if we can, guys. But just know that you can connect afterwards as well. We'll go Danny and then Dan, and then we'll wrap to our next startup. All right, guys?
Gotcha. Cool. Thanks. Yeah, so I can see how GameTree benefits from attracting players that are actively seeking out new friends. And there's like a stickiness associated with coming back to interact with those friends that you made on the platform. But I think for me, like my brain went to most other social platforms hyperscale from people bringing on their existing like social networks, right? One, do you think that's necessary for GameTree? And then two, if yes, how are you really like reshaping, like I guess like the core of the product to appeal to that?
Super good question. In its current form, GameTree is getting thousands of signups per day with no marketing team or promotion. But that's still like tiny compared to what we expect. Because in its current form, the world is big, it's a growing need, and GameTree is the best at doing what it does, but it's not naturally that viral. Like people who are looking for friends don't have a bunch of friends to share it with, or aren't intrinsically motivated to always do that. They're doing it because it's good at what it does again. But for example, community recommendations. If you're a streamer or a clan leader or whatever, you can go to Gametree and like make a link to that and get the right kinds of people to join. We get hundreds of community leaders coming to Gametree every day to promote and like recruit for their organizations and streams and whatever. User-generated content, like if I'm making stories, if I'm posting news, game clips, saying, hey, I'm playing this game, talking about strategy, I want friends in the network because I want them to be able to see that stuff. Like I have a selfish reason to invite them, or I want to be able to track them a little bit better. Another one's like game sessions. If it's faster and easier to use than Discord and more rewarding, then if all you need to do is just share a link, that's faster than like spinning up a Discord server, having everybody join the call. With Gametree, it's like you'll get a push notification reminder, another notification right before. When it starts, you just click a button, you instantly join the call. It gets tracked, rewarded. You don't need accounts and all this extra kind of process to do something that should be simple. So that's another reason is if you're in a group and let's say somebody else joins, you just share a link, they click it, and suddenly they know about Gametree. There's a lot more than that, like being able to discover people at events, within communities, finding out who's the person you get along with the best, especially massive multiplayer games. It's like so important to find the right clan or right players, or else it's just inferior AAA games. So we do have a lot of viral mechanics that start to get implemented more and more. So we're expecting like easily 10 to 20 times growth in the next year. But at its current stage, it isn't that viral. Again, it's just growing because of a growing need.
Awesome. Dan, you want to finish up with your
Yeah, sorry, we'll go real quick. I'm going to follow up again on the organic growth. I love to hear it. I mean, organic growth velocity is probably the most important thing you need. The thing I was thinking about, though, is that I feel like it's challenging to sustain a social media network purely based on gaming outside of other ecosystems. For example, Steam has been very effective at this and building community around their game marketplace. What other elements do you think can help accelerate that organic growth? For example, like incorporating gaming media, like building like a next gen media company like IGN has been in the past, or putting bundles at a discount like Humble Bundle did, things like that for, incentivizing players to come in and use it and stay.
Yeah, straight up. So because we collect the most data, essentially, it wasn't our intention, but people honestly give us this data for their own self-benefit. It's not like we're incentivizing them or like they're having to pay to do that to access something. They're doing it like selfishly. Nikki of Quantic Foundry, that's the biggest gaming data blog, said it's the cleanest data he's ever seen before. And with this data, that's kind of the bottleneck for AI, for curation in general. The gaming industry is getting so big that more important than making new things is helping you discover the thing you would like the most out of infinite options. Like there could be local events, online events that you're never going to know about. There's games coming out, especially niche games that you're never going to know about. So in addition to the social layer, like people come to Gametree because they want social connection, but with all this data and because there is no central gamer network, like all the other platforms are either Discord or just meant to sell you games, and like everything else is secondary. The Gametree, not focusing on selling the games, we can support and empower everything. So we can show you the news curated to the things that you would like the most. We can show you like the events, the gameplay sessions, we can recommend games. So part of it's also a discovery hub. So if you're looking at a game, you can go to Gametree and see like a curated, personalized, unbiased rating of predicting how much you'll like it, and reviews sorted by how much people similar to you at correlated games will like it, not just showing like what average people think. It'll still have a dashboard of everything. But that's like kind of discovery curation component is a big part of it, in addition to just the social layer itself. But the social layer itself also is partly having entertainment things to do. You could play like simple games in Gametree with people, just like scroll stories in a feed. So like if you're ever bored or lonely or something, you have 5 minutes on the toilet, you can take out Gametree and there'll just be stuff to do.
Awesome.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks a ton, all. Thanks, panelists, for your feedback. John, thank you a ton for today. We're going to dive right in and go ahead to the next founder for time's sake. Next up, we have Simon from Cubs. Simon has over a decade of experience in the gaming industry and was tired of his previous company turning away deals, so he attacked the problem head on by building Cubs. Simon, take it away.
Thanks for introducing me. I'm so glad to be here today. So yeah, I think that was a pretty decent explanation of what we're doing at Cube. So it all started with a story, right? So we started by servicing and providing backend support for games as a service agency. Basically, we saw like 2-3 years ago that the complexity of like all those integration, data analytics, advertisement, multiplayer engine, it was just getting out of hand. So slowly, studios were struggling with the integration of those, keeping them compatible, picking the right one. Every other month there's a new backend service that pops out, and those studios are just not keeping up. It's very difficult, and there's a lot of releases because the backend that they're picking is just not adapted to what they were aiming for. So this is basically when, Cube slowly started to exist. So the early version of Cube was basically a way to make it easier to manage the integration level of it, and to allow people to have a little bit of flexibility. So Cube is simple. It's a unified SDK implementation that allows people to pick the best choice using the power of AI, where you upload your game design document, your technical design document, or any idea, big level idea. It starts by looking at the feature you need, comparing with industry standard or other successful games, and it provides you with the recommended implementation you need in your game. It's going to start by being feature focused. You need a leaderboard, you need advertisement, you need a matchmaker, or any of the amazing companies that are pitching here today that will want to push their integration into existing platforms. Cubes is there to highlight those features that will make it successful. But the magic happened a little bit after that. So Cubes allow you to choose your feature first, but then the provider is not that big of a deal because you can change the provider along the way. There's nothing preventing you, because of the abstraction engine that we're building, to swap from Unity as a service provider to Unreal EOS in the future, or to any other features or technology that doesn't exist now. It's future-proofing your app, your game, compatible with, at the moment, with Unity and Unreal, but we want to expand. Web games, browser games are getting popular, so JavaScript SDK is also coming. You choose your tech that you want, your features. You pick the providers that you want, and we consolidate the management of all those features into a single SDK in your game. We're building those SDK on the fly, both compatible with Unity and Unreal Engine. Along the way, like I said, the AI stays with you. So not only it's going to help you, it's helping you build your SDK day one, it also allows you to choose and update your stack in the future. Let's say your game is costing a lot of money. You don't know why. You can talk with Kaya or AI and actually monitor and analyze where your money is going. Kaya is able to tell you you're using dedicated server with AWS at the moment, but using this or that provider could actually cut your cost by 30%, which you can do a swap without ever talking to an engineers, because we're abstracting the integration. That allows you to click a button and suddenly the implementation swap, because we're abstracting it. The engine act actually as a marketplace. So as you see in the image here, you have a bunch of cubes feature going from AI, Web3, feature like quest system, battle pass system, advertisement. You select, pick, and choose the one you want. It also allow people that have complex structure or big companies to manage who are you green lighting on your platform. Do you want your studios to use PlayFab, or do you have a partnership with other service provider where you're saving money? That allows you to manage the studio at a high level and decide who's greenlit for your studio. Then any games project inside of your studio are allowed to choose within the parameters that you set for your studio. That can evolve, that can change, and that can get optimized. The last thing is, I'm saying the last thing, it's not actually the last thing. There's plenty of things, but you can not only in the code make it unique, but also on the account creation and the accounts. So for anyone that has made games before, you're gonna have an account for your analytics. You're gonna have, your advertisement system, all the ads. All of those are complex to manage, complex to create. We create all of those for you, and we make a single invoice at the end of the month, so you only have one integration to manage. I'm going to be quick because I actually took the time to put a timer for myself, and my PC is reminding me that I'm past my 5 minutes, but I'm going to try to be super quick. Our strategy to go to market is actually to start from top to bottom. So we already have all those partners, clients that are making games using our platform in early access. So we're slowly starting to see games popping out with our technology stack with them. Those people trust us mainly for, the simplicity. We reduce by more than 50% the time that it takes for them to integrate backend implementation and maintain them, but also for the flexibility of starting a development without having to commit to all the technology stack. So we're super glad to have all of those people testing it, using it, and actually giving us, the ground to evolve. So I'm gonna help the team here because I know that we actually we're running out of time. So I'm gonna skip my last slide and be happy to answer any question to try to expand on that.
Wonderful. Super job, Simon. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Let's bring our panelists up really quickly. And what I'll do, we'll make for this Q&A section, we'll just have 2 panelists do questions and then finish out with the last startup. So Jason, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a complicated subject, SDKs. There's a lot of
Yeah, I'm sure you know a lot about it.
Oh yeah, it's a nightmare. But like honestly, like your slew, it's so complicated between accounts and SDKs and updating SDKs and what SDKs are going to conflict with other SDKs. Yeah, I'm lost at where, like, how you're actually going to avoid all of those conflicts and allow me to just click some buttons and integrate all of these SDKs when they're all so specific.
Absolutely. I love that because it, you know the subject. You're probably like one of the person here that actually faced it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a simple problem with such complexity in the background. So you're right. One of the big challenge was conflicts. So one of the big part of our SDK engine is the conflict management. So we have a complete map of what is compatible with each other, and also we're able to make recommendations. So there's dependency over the account creation, over how the data is manipulated between those dependencies. So we saw that complexity. That was one of the first big challenge that we solved. So it's all in-house. When you do the integration and you select the dependencies that you want, as soon as you select something that conflicts with something else, the other option are grayed out, and you see why. So you see that you cannot use, let's say, Unity because you already picked PlayFab as an example. That's not a real conflict, but basically we map that for them, and they're able to make the right decision along the way. And usually people, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to be fast, but usually people have to do that manually, right? So those conflicts exist in real life. So they either need to discover them by using them, or it's just adding more time, more complexity into the development. So it's all managed by the platform.
Well, usually you discover them by shit stops working, and then you spend 3 days figuring out why shit stopped working.
Exactly. Yeah. Look, you're saying that with a lot of frustration, and I have a lot of compassion for that. Yes, it's the truth.
Love it. Steve, we'll have you have the second question for this round.
Cool. So obviously you're partnering with like every third-party development tool in the stack. Like how do you, when things do go wrong, like how do you ensure that these third-party developer tools are getting better and learning from performance issues or any complications that arise when testing or game launches to reduce the time it takes where it might impact an audience?
Yeah, it's 5 minutes is so short. So you're like it's a whole side of the story that has not been told. So of course we don't only track third-party implementation for the people using it, but also for the people distributing it. So let's say you're making an AI tool that allows you to create characters in games using AI. So by doing it, you can publish your tools on the platform. The platform will monitor the crashes, the feedback, the competition, what new tools are actually walking on your head on the platform. And you'll be able to interact with Kaya just to ask what is going on. The integration level has actually dropped. And we're collecting all the data on the usage of every third-party implementation on the platform, which lead to we can actually help people that create technology make more money, reach more people, and distribute their tech in an easier way. So it is critical for us to empower those tech providers, their SaaS, all of those people to be able to put it out there and actually have the information and the data to be able to take action to make their platform better.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone. Simon, thanks a ton for the time today.
It's a pleasure.
We'll definitely close out and bring Isaac from Avatar OS up. And before we do, definitely want to encourage any and every viewer to use the buttons below, of course, as if you have any of the founders that spoke today and you're interested in learning more and connecting with them, you can also include comments and questions on that in the chat, and they'll respond to that. Judges, any themes, favorite pitches from the day, any final thoughts that you have?
I was going to just say that I think when I read about the profiles of these startups before we came on the show, I did not think I was going to like Game Tree as much as I did. So I was pleasantly surprised by that pitch, and thinking through how the future of that could grow. And, it's kind of tapping into sort of like, can you build this as a larger multimedia kind of hub for gamers, and, even building the marketplace into it, because I do feel like it's hard to maintain just a very, a niche social network that's just about gaming. I think it's good, but it's going to have limits, versus really fueling that organic growth through having other activities that the players can do and kind of revolve around.
Yeah, I agree with that, Dan. I really liked that pitch as well. And again, looking at it, I kind of breezed right through it. I think, yeah, yet another attempt at a social network. Like, we don't have enough of those bloody things already. But specifically, I think the biggest challenge in gaming in general right now isn't how we build games or who's building games or getting more games out there. It's about marketing and growth and distribution, especially when the platforms like Google and Apple are being so repressive in their greed over fees and how much they're locking down distribution. Unity having shot the bed over the last year, as we all know, and now really only having one major platform through AppLovin, as well as Facebook and others distributing. But I think there's a real opportunity in there to surface interesting and new games to play, and there's a monetization capability within that. So I think there's a real opportunity there to not only solve for toxicity, but do it in a way that actually monetizes.
I'd have to agree on the Game Tree thing. I think I was really pleasantly surprised after first glancing through. It doesn't need to be a Discord killer. It can be very complementary rather than being analogous. And I think that was what kind of really stood out to me. Obviously, discoverability has been a huge issue in gaming for a long time, as a lot more games are getting, produced and launching, yet, less game. You're driven to games through the sort of Metcalfe's law of like the sort of leader in your friend group. It's the one that decides what you play. And I think this is really cool to see sort of the data elements coming into play, but all really great pitches. I think we had a kind of multitude of awesome, from core infra technology to discoverability to, lighter weight gaming and advertising opportunities.
I also was going to add that user acquisition costs are ridiculously high. And so like, I'm very bullish about some of these gaming startups that are building around organic community building and organic growth and organic awareness building, because that is the most, like, the holy grail of acquiring the gamers to your whatever your platform is.
Yeah, and being that user acquisition costs are so absurd right now, that's an opportunity for somebody like Game Tree, because they get a piece of that pie. They can charge $20 a user for because that's,
if you can really incentivize new gamers to join Game Tree, it could I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, but the organic growth is definitely a great signal.
Love it. Love to see that, guys. Building a true moat. That's what we love to see. Well, I will bring Matt back to the stage for some final thoughts for today, and as we tally the votes. Personally, want to thank everyone for coming and supporting our startups. Keep an eye out for the recording that'll take place. If you missed any of the pitches today, we'll have the recording ready for you to view later. And stay in touch. If you liked a founder or an investor from today's chat, reach out to them, connect, use the buttons below to do so. And more than anything, super excited and thankful for everyone's time today. So signing off and passing the baton to Matt. Thanks a ton, all.
Awesome. Thanks, Rochelle. That was awesome. You filled Haley's shoes amazingly, and we'd love to have you back. And yeah, I just want to say thanks to everyone for coming. Thanks specifically to everyone who donated their time today. I also, when I saw the Game Tree deck, was like, I don't know if this is a fit for us. So it's really, it was John. When you hear John speak, you realize how passionate he is about the problem, and the acquisition story is super cool. It's nice as a gamer to realize that your communities aren't siloed to the networks that you have to play on now, and then it also you can start pointing people cross platform with that. So I just want to do a quick shout out to our big sponsor Bubble. They've been super helpful for us. We're actually built on it because we're simple and we're not a massive SDK. Otherwise I'd have Simon probably having to help me out plugging up my back end. Like I said, they've got BubbleCon coming up. It's not just for MVPs as indicated by how we're built. If anybody wants to get in contact with Bubble, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And again, we've got a great pitch event next month. Please sign up for that. And if you have any companies you want to send our way, we talk to 30 to 50 a month and start helping right away. We are not just for the 4 that make it here. But again, thanks everyone for tuning in and looking forward to the next one.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
Cool.